Any last words to say to your dad if he
Oh my god.
ever watches this video? Don't. Okay, I was gonna say it's okay. You can cry. I was gonna say don't cry, but if you wanna cry, I'm here to hold your hand. It's okay. It's okay. Hi guys, welcome to today's episode of Ask ZULA, and today's guest is Chloe. Hello, welcome. She's been in some of our videos before. But before we go into the topic, maybe introduce yourself to everyone.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Chloe. I'm 23 years old and I work as a content strat at TSL.
Yes, and today we will be talking about family, and more specifically yours, and especially your relationship with your dad. We actually covered like family-related topics on Ask ZULA before with John, and he talked about his very strained but also like mending relationship with his tiger mom. But today we'll be talking about more so about divorce. Because her parents are divorced, right?
Yeah.
And I know in the comments people did ask for us to talk a little bit more about this topic. And while today's episode is not necessarily like a huge focus on the divorce portion, but it's how like this divorce led to a lot of like different consequences and how it's affected you lah.
Yeah.
Okay, but before I keep rambling on about like what we're gonna cover today, maybe you can share a little bit more about your dynamic with your dad. And also, you know, when this whole divorce situation happened and how like it affected you at the start, you know, when you're younger.
I didn't really ask my mom about the details, but from like the things I see, like the papers and stuff, they got divorced when I was 3, which means that they would have already been living apart when I was 1.
Yeah.
So it's been about like 20 years of living with my mom. So I currently live with my mom in Singapore. My dad is overseas and he actually remarried. So he has a Russian wife. Back then when they first split, I was living with my mom and my grandma at home. And my dad was kind of allowed to see me, I think once or twice a week on weeknights and on weekends. And that was kind of the agreement because I still had to go to school and stuff like that. So I did see him from time to time, and that was when he was still in Singapore. So things were pretty okay. Like I think as a kid, I didn't really think much into it also. When I was 6, he suddenly told me that he was going to move to China for work. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. So then the correspondence then became like phone calls back then, because that was like 2005, right? So we talked a lot over phone calls. Eventually when I got a computer, it kind of evolved into emails. So like back then my dad will occasionally email me like some photos of how his time in China was like. One fine day when I was primary 3, I suddenly got an email from my dad, and in the email contained attachments of photographs of these half Angmo babies, and he was like, oh, like these are like my godchildren, and like, oh look, like they're so cute and blah blah blah.
He's got children.
Yeah, he's got children.
Okay.
Which at that point I did not know were his legit kids.
Oh.
So when I was primary 5, I met them in person for the first time, and they all came down to Singapore to bring me over to Malaysia together. So basically my dad's parents live in Malaysia, so he wanted to bring me to go and see my grandparents.
Right. So how did you actually find out that it was his kids?
The thing is, right, all these things happen so like randomly because everyone doesn't know that I'm unaware.
Okay.
So basically I was in Malaysia with everyone, and I was at one of my aunt's house. We were just chilling then. Me being the very kaypoh kid, I was just flipping through some random photo albums, and I was like, oh, weren't these like the kids with my dad? And then suddenly my aunt just walked past, and then she said, oh, 那个是你爸爸的孩子, those are your dad's kids. And then I was like, huh? Kids? Like, yeah, the one is the wife, what, you don't know me? Then like me, I was in so much shock because like, can you imagine this 11-year-old suddenly finding out that like your dad actually has a wife, and the kids that he said were his god kids were actually like his legitimate children.
I feel like I'm in the TV series right now.
Exactly.
Like some drama on
Like
Netflix.
like Channel 8 drama, right?
Yes,
and
yes,
the worst thing was, right,
Channel 8 drama.
the worst thing about this whole situation was I didn't even hear it from my dad himself. I kept finding out more and more information from relatives who thought that I was aware of the situation.
Right.
I think that was the hardest thing to have to go through the entire time, was the fact that like the one person that I wanted to confide in didn't even want to tell me that all these things were happening. I think at that point in time, that was when the strain started, because like there was always this air of like, my dad knows that I know, but then he don't want to like address the issue in the room. And then I think he never ever talked to me about like how I felt about this whole situation, and how it was like for me, whether I was okay. It was just like, let's just move on and pretend like everything's okay.
So maybe we can talk a little bit about, you know, when you first found out and everything, right? like your mom is still in the picture because like you mentioned that you live with your mom for the longest time and even until now. Was she aware of this, like at that point?
No, my mom was completely unaware of the situation. So I felt so bad because the thing is, the first time I talked to her, right, I spoke to her as if she knew of the marriage already. So I was like, oh, do you know that my dad brought me to Malaysia with his kids? And my mom was like, huh? What do you mean? I don't think my mom was upset that she didn't know. I think she was more like in shock about the fact that I was brought to Malaysia without her knowledge of this entire dynamic happening. Because I'm quite sure that obviously if my mom knew that this was a situation, she wouldn't have let it do lah. So after that conversation with my mom, I think that's the first point I realized that my parents were not communicating as much anymore.
Right.
And that's when I told myself I need to consciously make this decision to separate the two parents in terms of like intermingling their lives. I wouldn't want to bring either of them up in front of each other because they have already decided to live their life separately, right? So it's not my job to be in there and like, because of me as a kid now, I force you all to create conversations with each other.
Right.
When there's literally no point.
Before we move on into like the other things that happen in your life and also how all of these situations have added up and affected you growing up, right? Maybe you can, like for the audience, can kind of describe your dad in a couple of words so that people can kind of get an understanding or feeling of how he is as a person.
I think my dad definitely tried to still love me in his capacity, in a sense that, for example, if there's anything that I wanted, he would buy for me because he knows that he couldn't really show love in any other way. I think another aspect that he definitely did was to try to still make time to spend with me despite the circumstances. So before the kids came along, there was actually one year where he decided to just take me out of kindergarten randomly and bring me to Australia for like 3 weeks. I think that was one of the strongest memories that I have in my mind of him. And I recall during that Australia trip, he would always like try to take a lot of photos of me and like bring me to eat nice food. Cause like, I think part of him also still wanted to keep like a little bit of my childhood with him. So, oh my god, why am I crying? Ah! Oh my god, why am I crying?
No, it's okay. Sorry. It's okay to have feelings, everybody. Just a disclaimer, it's okay. Okay, sorry.
I think
sorry.
As in like why I feel like that. I think like the reason why I'm getting a bit emotional is also because there's not much that I remember of him.
I know, it's just like think of the good memories then you're like, oh, this was like a good time that you had your dad. And it's like fond memories that you have of like your family also. So I can understand. I'm glad to see you still have kind of a relationship with your dad. Although at the start, probably when you're younger, not the best one. But at the same time, at least y'all still communicate. At least y'all still talk to each other, kind of.
It comes in moments, but it's definitely not the kind of like we talk every day. I think my dad as a person is a little bit more avoidant and he doesn't really know how to handle situations like this very well. The worst memory that I had, right, was when I was 14 and that was when his son was born. The thing is, I didn't even know that the wife was pregnant with another child.
Okay.
And how I was informed was, I remember I was in a taxi and I was on the way to like my CCA or something, right?
Okay.
And I suddenly got a text from my dad and then it said, oh, just to let you know, auntie has given birth to our son today and his name is blah 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 blah. Text message, you know. No warning, you know. I remember I was so shocked. I got out of the taxi and I just screamed. I was like, what? This is just the way that he handles problems, lor. Like, he just thinks that like at the end of the day, being accountable is one thing, but then not being emotionally accountable is something that he doesn't think about.
Right. I think that he tries his best to give the information, but at the
not
same
in the
time,
best way.
Right, I can see. But at least like he tried, but at the same time, I think for you, you're just like, why did it come to me in this format? I can see like why you are very emotional about it. I think it's because that you haven't really fully resolved this with him.
I think it's definitely not resolved as of now because I don't want to bombard him with these issues, especially when he has other things to deal with. He has 4 kids going through puberty at the moment and I'm sure they come with their own set of emotional issues.
True.
So I don't really think like it's appropriate for me to talk to him about this now, especially like I'm sure as the kids grow older, they will also have their questions about me. But you know, like let's save that conversation for another day when we're all a bit more emotionally ready to deal with it.
Maybe you want to share a bit more about how these decisions that your dad made or like the lack of communication kind of affected your mental health.
I think the worst thing for me in the entire like 7-8 years of dealing with these whole problems is having to kind of compartmentalize my feelings such that I deal with all of these things outside the house and when I go home I don't talk about it because I don't want to bring that kind of emotions home. I don't want my mom to have to like, oh, you know what's wrong? Like, can we talk about it? And then I need to talk to her about her like freaking ex-husband that she left. Like, I don't want to do that to her lah. So the only place that I could deal with these things were in school.
Okay.
And that kind of affected the way I was like in school. So I would say that it was a bit like bratty in school, but not intentionally. It was just cause like I didn't know what to do.
In what sense would you say you're very bratty? Like you always like copy the teachers?
No, I won't copy the teachers. Like for example, if the teachers tell me like you need to do this right, I'll just be like, why don't you do it? Like I don't understand like how come so many people are trying to take charge of my life. I think that would be the easiest way to explain that whole bunch of feelings, because like at that point in time it was really so emotional, right? I felt like I had so little control over the things in my life that like I need to control my emotions. I don't have control over my family situation. Even in school, I kind of like need to be controlled. But it's not the school's fault lah. It's just like the circumstances that causes this. I think in primary school, teachers understood a bit better. But in secondary school, they always say like, oh, like y'all grow up already, cannot behave like that. Looking back, I do wish that my teachers gave me like a little bit more understanding in that aspect. I don't blame them because they wouldn't have known. But it was just very difficult for me to have to explain to my teachers. There was one incident. It was a parent-teacher meeting and my teacher decided to berate me in front of my mom. And that made my mom have the impression that like I wasn't listening in class at all. I wasn't aware about my studies and everything. It worried her so much, right? I was so angry with my teacher because I was like, if you actually had taken the time to talk to me, you would have known that I just found out my dad had a kid over SMS and I don't want to deal with any of this right now. It's not because like I don't want to listen in class.
Oh no. Wow, that really sucks. Like, you know, you just need to extend an arm of like, are you okay? That kind of situation. Which is so unlucky that you didn't have that, because wow, I couldn't only imagine going through that.
But the worst thing was, right, when I was taking my A-level results, my form teacher told me like, given your behaviour in JC, it's a miracle that you even pass your A-levels.
Oh my god, what was your... Okay, I mean like JC you grew up a little bit more, right? What was your behaviour in JC?
I think in JC it was just the fact that I was very, very behind in my schoolwork because I just didn't have the mental capacity to deal with all of these.
Right.
Like, okay, I forgot to mention this earlier, right? But throughout that whole like secondary to JC period, it was a time where I was having very, very bad like panic attacks and anxiety attacks also. It was so bad to a point where like I would have to run out in the middle of class because I couldn't breathe, and I would like sit outside my classroom and just burst into tears kind. Obviously not all my teachers knew that I was going through that, but the teachers who knew were also the ones who reached out to me lah. But for example, like my JC form teacher, she didn't know that I was going through all of that, and she just thought that I was just skipping school intentionally, or I wasn't in class intentionally because I wasn't interested in my studies. But it's not like I was really having a very bad time in general. We're trying, you know.
Oh no. Yeah, but that's just sad. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. But I mean, from those experiences, how did you kind of cope after that period? Like, because after JC and everything, how did it shape you as a person? When did you realize like, you know, you had to manage your emotions a little bit better as well? I
would say that the only point I really came to this understanding would be like sometime last year.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So actually, right after JC, right, the emotional problems that I was facing manifested in other areas of my life. There was not like
what?
Mental health. Like for example, in my relationships.
Oh gosh, okay.
I started to realize that I was having relationships that were not good for me, but at the same time, I didn't want to accept it. So when I was 20 and I was seeing this guy, there were a lot of red flags that started to surface after the first 3 months, right? But despite that, I still chose to stick with the relationship for almost 2 years. Can you imagine, right? Being unhappy 90% of the time in a relationship, but still choosing to stick with it because you know that you don't know how things will be like in 10 years time, but you know that if you walk away from this relationship, it'll definitely end. And that was the mentality that I had when I entered the relationship. I think the fact that this entire thing manifested during the relationship, right? I couldn't even see it until we were forced to be apart. Number one, when I moved to the States and we got into an LDR. Number two, when we came back but COVID happened and then we couldn't see each other.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So after the entire period of being apart, right, it made me realize like, oh shit, like why am I engaging in all these like relationships? It's not benefiting anyone at all.
Sis, you already got so much drama in your family life. You still want to add more drama in your relationships.
Exactly,
I don't understand what is happening though.
I think when all these things happen, right, it's really a manifestation of like you don't know how to deal with your emotional problems, and that's why you let it happen in other places of your life.
The fact that all these small actions from your family or your dad that have kind of like triggered you from young have so much consequences into like many different aspects of your life in the future. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, and like how divorce or like even dynamics, family relationships can really make you very sensitive to your own relationships as well, with like friends or like
with like partners
as well. I think while this situation doesn't necessarily reflect maybe more common sentiments about how after a divorce usually happens, you know, because yours is like really quite extreme on like another spectrum. It could happen to people, and you don't know what people are going through. So I think it's good to be understanding, especially when you're younger. Like, I think it's very important to talk to someone about it, because like from your experience, clearly not talking about it made it way worse, right?
The worst thing was that I didn't even like accept or recognize these feelings until I was much older. So I think one of the reasons why we wanted to do this video was I think it's very important to have more conversations about things like that. Honestly, it's so difficult for people to open up, especially in Singapore where things are a little bit more conservative. I'm not saying to normalize it. I'm saying that we need to be able to reach out when we need help.
Especially for like kids or children who don't have anyone to talk to or don't know how to talk about it. Like in my day and age, like as if I'm a fucking dinosaur. Right? In the past, when I was younger, I was very afraid to say that my parents are divorced, because like when I was like 13, 14, right, like I think it was not as common among my friends, and in my social circle at least, it was really like abnormal. But the fact that it has become more common in today's society, but people don't necessarily address the issue head on, and people don't have open conversations about it. I think that's something that we want to do here as well lah. And maybe we can do future videos on it for other people's situations, and maybe that would be more relatable to you guys as well. Speaking of that, I think we kind of like diverged from the original conversation, but to bring it back to what we were talking about, maybe we can share a little bit more about how your mum comes into the picture here. How was your mum as like a support system for you when you were younger as well?
Oh, my mum is the best, man. Shout out to mommy if you're watching this.
Aww.
Hearts for you. I actually did a video with my mum on Facebook where we played like Never Have I Ever, and it was quite a fun time lah. That was how I think I started to know how she sees me. In the video, she mentioned that like I think there was only one time in her entire life that she saw me like emotionally break down, and that was at a family funeral. So I realized that I had actually like shut off my emotions from her also, in the attempt to like separate this from this. I think my mom definitely gave me a very good support system when I was younger, which I do recognize that I'm very, very lucky to have lah. So my mom will always let me have my way lah, and she trusts that I know what I'm doing. So for example, at 11, right, when I found out all that shit that was happening with my dad, I told my mom, don't put me in childcare center, don't ask anyone to take care of me. Every day after school, I will go home, cook my own lunch, do my own laundry, I will take care of myself. And then my mom say, okay, go ahead. For a mom to trust an 11-year-old to do all of that, right, I would think that it's really quite something lah. But because she knew that that was what I needed, so she gave that space to me. And she has always given that space to me to support me in all the funny things that I wanted to try in my life lah. And on top of that, I think she also made a very big effort to include me in her friend groups. And her friend groups were also very welcoming. So all the auntie, uncles out there, I love you all, man. You are the best.
Wow.
Really. We would often sit down and have meals together. We would spend like Friday evenings together. And that was a very big memory that I had in my childhood that I will always be very thankful for. Because in that sense, I still definitely felt a lot of love from all these people that even though my dad couldn't give me, I knew that I wasn't lacking in any way. And I think that was why I never saw this like absence of a father figure as a very big issue in my life. The issues came more from me intentionally separating these two lives, but I wouldn't say that has changed the amount of love that I have felt growing up.
But that's good. That's
very
good.
Lucky.
I'm happy for you. That at least, you know, there is still some amount of support. And it's a good amount of support in your life when you grew up. Like now, your relationship with your dad, maybe you can describe how you are with him currently.
So I haven't seen my dad in about 3 years, I think.
Because of COVID.
Because of COVID, because he lives overseas. I don't open up to him as much now. I would still wish him like, oh, happy birthday, Happy Chinese New Year. That is kind of the extent to what it is now.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame him. I don't blame the circumstances. It's just that I think at this point in time, it's best for everyone. And maybe when, like I mentioned earlier, when we are a bit older, then we can see how we want to deal with the problem.
So when you're a bit older, you feel like you want to have a sit-down proper conversation about this. Is that what you want to do?
I don't know if we necessarily need to sit down and talk about it, but I would think that when we're a bit older, it would be making more attempts to mend the relationship. So I think we have, after 10 years, right, we have kind of accepted that this is the way things are, and we don't necessarily need to bring up all the old wounds again and be like, oh, these are the places that you hurt me, A, B, C, D, E. But
it's like, that's in the past.
Yeah, it will just be more like, how can we spend time together now, or like how can I get to know you a bit better?
I understand.
Which is very strange to say, like, oh, like when I'm 30 years old, then I want to get to know my dad better. But
sometimes you just need that time apart.
Yeah, we'll try lah. We'll try.
Sometimes I think when you want to have a clean start, then that's the most important thing lah. Yeah. There's no reason to bring up like past incidences or hurts, because like whatever happened in the past, I think you both have kind of acknowledged it as well. So it's just like when you're ready to like move forward lah, which I think will come at your own time as well. Yeah. So we're kind of going to wrap up the video here already. So like the last few words, maybe you can give some advice to people who, you know, maybe in a similar situation as you.
If you are really going through a difficult time, please reach out to someone. It could be a friend, it could be a counselor, it could be a teacher. If you really have no one to talk to and you just need someone to listen to you, just DM me and I'll see how I can help you. But yes, it's very important to talk to someone and kind of let these feelings out, because you might not think much into it, but to someone who is your friend or someone who's close to you, knowing that will make all the difference for them, because they know how to support you.
Also, to add on, I feel that it's important to have a conversation with your parents.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think that maybe children who are in this situation, they feel like it's awkward to bring it up to your parents, because both parents separating, when you feel like, do you have to play loyalty cards like one over another? Like, do I talk to this one? Do I talk to another one? Like,
what do I say to you about him? Yeah.
Like, if you're angry at this person, like, can I tell it to like another person? You know what I mean? I think it's hard because you don't know how your parents are going to react. You don't know what whether they're ready to have that conversation. But at least try, because I think as a parent, they also want to understand how you are feeling.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wouldn't say that every parent is like that, because like some people may choose to be like, no, nothing is wrong. But if that's the case, I'm sorry, because like that's really unfortunate. But I hope that at least your parents are open to listening and having a conversation with you. I think that's something that y'all need to find within yourselves to like go out.
It takes a lot lah.
And like be like, mommy or daddy, I need to talk about this lah. And like if we don't address this now, I think it's like, you know, I'm gonna be like super traumatized for the rest of my life.
Like me?
Yes.
And then you show them this video and they show
so,
like,
by the way,
my areas of trauma in the video.
This video and like, this is how I feel. Like, just point at the video and be like, yeah, this is me. Something like that. Like, just find a way to have a conversation. Yeah. It's very hard to deal with family situations, but I hope eventually, if anyone is going through a tough time, y'all will get through it.
Yes.
And
hang in there, everyone.
Yes, hang in there. And before we end off, I'm gonna ask you, any last words to say to your dad if he ever watches this video? Don't. Okay, I was gonna say it's okay. You can cry. I was gonna say don't cry, but if you wanna cry, I'm here to hold your hand. It's okay. No, but don't think about it too deeply. Just think about like, you know, like off the top of the head. Is there anything that you would like to say?
Okay, to my dad, if you're watching this, I just want to say I still appreciate you no matter what. I might not know you as well as your kids do, but I hope that at least they had the childhood that I never had. I hope that you guys are still doing healthy and safe. I don't wish the worst upon you lah. I still wish that I still wish that you are doing well. But yeah, and if you know, in 10, 20 years time when we're ready to talk about it, then we can. But if you're not, that's also fine. I will deal with my trauma. Eventually, yes. No, but yeah, kidding. But yeah, hope you are doing fine and know that I'm doing very well with my mom. We are in very good hands. My mom is taking very good care of us. So yes, there's nothing to worry. Just take care of your 4 kids.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so with that said, we'll end the video here. Thank you, Chloe, for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Very long and tumultuous story. For anyone out there, if you want to hear more of such stories or different topics you want us to talk about on future episodes of Ask ZULA, leave in the comments down below. Let us know who else you would like us to interview. And if you like this video, remember to leave a like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye! Bye-bye!